A report on the state of devolution and the ranking in Nairobi, Kisumu and Mombasa County. And the results are out. If you want to know what the governor of your county got, I have some of the results right now here with me. And Nairobi County Governor Mike Sonko was rated or ranked with a D+ in Nairobi, according to Nairobi residents. Mombasa Governor Ali Hassan Joho got a C+, while Governor Professor Anyang' Nyong'o of Kisumu County got a C+. Those are the results from that TIFA survey that's just been released actually about an hour ago. So joining me in studio to dissect those results and understand their basis is Kwea Jerry, who's a research director at TIFA. Welcome to the program, Bona.
Thank you, Maura.
Thank you for having us here. First things first, what motivated the study?
Basically, there's conversations about performance of governors, and a research company. We are there to inform the public. So we decided to go out and basically do some empirical research and find out what is actually the state of the ground. Because the people are saying the governors are not performing, but the governors felt they are performing.
Oh, the governors felt they are performing. Governors contribute to this, or it's just the people on the ground?
People on the ground.
Okay.
Purely this research was financed by ourselves, just basically to find out what's exactly the state of the counties.
Okay.
And we picked on the 3 cities. That's Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu.
Why those 3 cities?
Because basically those are the anchor counties in Nairobi. So we wanted to find out in Kenya. So we wanted to find out how are they performing. So basically we can see from their performance and how will be the other counties be performing.
Okay. Help me understand. Okay, so we have so I guess of the 3, Governor Nyong'o is the best performer. He has a C+.
Yeah.
Joho is in the middle of the class. He's got Governor Joho. He's got a C, and Mike Sonko, our governor here, is at the bottom of the rank there with a D+. What do these rankings mean? What do they indicate? Just help us understand. When you have a D+, it means you've performed X, Y, Z in a particular way. You know, help us understand this data.
Basically, we looked at different variables whereby the devolved functions of the counties, and that's how we are ranking. As per the citizen, how do they feel their governors or counties are performing? So as per TIFA, we are not there to say they performed poorly or they performed well. It's up to the residents of those counties to decide and say, is a D+ good enough? Is a C good enough for Mombasa, or a C+ good enough for Kisumu? Yeah.
Give me specifics. So devolved functions. So you looked at what? You asked residents health?
We looked at health.
Okay.
We looked at garbage collection.
Okay, that's a big one.
We looked at ECDE. We looked at
early childhood
education. Development and education. Yeah. So there are about 11 variables that we are looking at when it comes to the developed functions.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when was this survey conducted?
The survey was conducted between 1st and 4th of this month.
Okay.
Which is basically a few days after the Devolution conference.
Okay.
And basically it was we mixed and face-to-face conversations and telephonic interviews. And our sampling size, we looked at 500 per county.
500 per county.
500 per county.
Were you able to take into effect a lot of things that may have happened in this month? For example, on the part of Governor Joho, he's been out of the country for some time. I don't know if that may have had an effect. It's perceived about what's happening. For Mike Sonko, a lot has changed, I guess, since he's held several interviews now. We've had the whole incident of the former NCBDA chairperson being roughed up. Did any of that come into your report, or it was before that?
What we did was purely development. We didn't look at.
We kept away from the.
We kept away from politics. Basically, we are focusing on how do you think your governor has performed in this, let's say in ECD. How will you rate him between 0 and 100? What will be the score? Yeah, so basically that's what it looked. We can say maybe the thing that affected it could be the Devolution conference.
Okay.
Because the research was done, I think, less than a week after the Devolution conference.
Okay. And
that's the platform whereby governors had been given a platform to showcase what they were doing, and maybe the public was made more aware of the functions of the counties. So that could have affected our study.
Were there any surprises in your view? Did anything really stand out in your view?
What stood out basically in our views is the public participation in the budgeting of the counties, in the information of the bills. We discovered that residents are not involved in the formulation of bills. They are not involved in the allocations of the budget. So if you look at Kisumu, we'll find that least the participation in these activities was a bit higher.
Okay.
So maybe that could have affected why his ranking is high. Okay. But in Nairobi and Mombasa, the public participation is very low.
Okay.
Yeah.
Help us understand. Okay, so let's talk about some of the big or devolved functions that stand out.
Yeah.
Health.
Yeah.
So health, help us understand between the 3 counties. And I know you have the survey there with you.
Yes, I have the survey.
And of course, residents of Mombasa, Kisumu, Nairobi County, let us know your thoughts on the survey. D+ for the governor of Nairobi County, C plain this is for Governor Joho of Mombasa, and C+ for Governor Nyong'o. Do you agree with that sort of ranking? Let us know your thoughts. 2242 is our SMS. Use the hashtag CitizenExtra on social media as well. So talk to us about the 11 devolved functions and who came out on top in each of them.
Like we have street lighting. Okay. Street lighting, all the counties did very well in the street lighting. So the question is, are they doing well because the previous government had already installed the street lighting or not? But we realize also Governor Joho is there for the 2nd term. So basically maybe his ranking are coming from the street lighting. If you look at clean water,
okay,
clean water Kisumu is doing well with 61%. They say they are able to access clean water. Mombasa has the 39%, Nairobi 43%.
Okay.
If you look at, let's say, environmental cleanliness, residents in Kisumu, 59% of them are saying that the county is clean.
Nairobi and Mombasa, I'm curious.
Nairobi environmental cleanliness, Nairobi only 35% feel the city is clean, but 65% are saying it's not.
In Mombasa?
In Mombasa, surprise, it's 42%.
Oh, 42%. Say the city is clean.
The city is clean.
Okay.
Yeah. When it comes to county health services, Kisumu, 57% are saying they have good health services.
Okay.
Mombasa is 51% and Nairobi 44%. Yeah. Maybe the other thing we need to look at is the sewerage. When it comes to sewer,
especially in this time of flooding.
Yes. In Nairobi, you have a yes of 31%. Mombasa 43% and Kisumu 44%.
So the general trend in that.
So the trend, if you look at if you compare all the cities, it's almost that.
Nairobi, Mombasa, then Kisumu.
Yeah, the trend is just the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about what you looked at.
Yeah.
Have you done previous studies of a similar nature, specifically for these 3 counties?
No, we've not done studies of similar nature, but going forward, we are saying like now this is the baseline. So maybe after 3 or 4 months, we'll again measure the same counties and compare between now and then how are they performing.
Okay.
And maybe going forward, we'll also try to loop in more counties, like especially those that are being governed by ladies.
Okay. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
From the findings, there's a sense in which governors seem to be disconnected from the people, and that came out. I've had a chance to briefly glance at the report. What could be the reasons for this?
Basically, the disconnection comes back, let's say, number one, when the governors took over, away from Joho, let's say Anyang' Nyong'o and Sonko. When they took over, we realized none of the governors, maybe let's look at the 47 they don't go into doing maybe a baseline survey to understand what do the residents want. So they get into office and then they start running. They have
with their ideas.
With their own ideas, maybe what they are promising during the campaigns.
Yes.
Number two, if you look at the public participation in the activities, they are minimal. By the end of the day, the governors, they're doing what the best they know how, but they're not involving the people. And
so a governor might be quote unquote doing a good job, but it's not what the people want.
It's not what the people want.
And you're going to have a problem there.
Because they've not done research, they've not done baseline surveys to find out exactly what are the priorities. Because in every county, there are sub-counties. Counties have different needs depending on where they are. There are counties that have issues with water, there are counties that have issues with lighting, there are counties that have issues there with maybe education. So can you do something, a baseline survey to find out what exactly are the priorities of your people? Yeah.
For example, the Tana River governor, and we were here with him yesterday, on his Dado Godana said his plans have now changed. With the flooding that's happened there, whatever other plans he may have had have been taken over by the situation there. So you're right, a lot can change in that particular time.
But even if his plans has changed, have they changed because there is flooding, or they changed because now he's gone to the ground and look out what are the issues?
Good question.
So still on the same set.
To go back to the people and ask them,
yes,
despite or in spite of what has happened,
yes,
what do you need from the county government?
Because flooding is not new.
Flooding is not, you're right, and I like the way you brought that up. So are voters feeling like they're getting value for their votes? It doesn't look like they are, if that's the kind of ranking they're giving their governors.
It doesn't look they're getting value of their money. So there's a high time governors went back to evaluate themselves.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's broaden this discussion. The big four.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you're able to draw any information about the same in this, because there's sort of an overlap between part of the big four. Let's talk about health, for example.
Yeah.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is pushing universal health coverage, but at the same time, health is a devolved function that should be handled, on the ground. Were you able to get any information about Kenyans' perceptions of the big four from your survey? Yeah,
on the big four, we picked on two issues. Basically, we picked on health, and then we picked on food security.
Okay.
On health, we focus basically on NHIF, because when you talk about universal care, basically NHIF is supposed to be the driver into making people access the universal health care. So when we measured in Mombasa, I wanted to find out what percentage of citizens that we interviewed have registered with the NHIF. We discovered 55% have registered with the NHIF. In Mombasa, 50%, and then in Nairobi, 51%. But now the interesting thing is, out of the 55% of registered in Nairobi, in Kisumu, sorry, only 34 had used the card when they're going to access healthcare. In Mombasa, out of the 50,
so wait, so 5% have the card?
On the card.
But only 35% have used it.
Have tried to use it during the last visit.
So hopefully the others have not had a reason to use it. Okay.
Probably they've not had a reason, or maybe whatever they are suffering for have not be covered.
Okay.
Because out of the verbatim, like we had one resident who said, I have a card, but I was told my issue is not covered. So yes, I could not use it. Yeah. And then on the issue of food security, we also tried to find out how many people we interviewed are going without a meal. Okay. And it's quite interesting to discover that in Kisumu, 22% of the household interviewed in the last days have gone hungry.
Just say that again.
22%.
Yes.
Either a member of the household or the respondents we talked to, 22% have gone hungry in the past 7 days. In Mombasa, 11% have gone hungry in the past 7 days. And in Nairobi, 14% have gone hungry. And then the same we try to interrogate how many have gone without a full day without a meal. In Nairobi, you have 26%. In Kisumu, you have 26%. Mombasa, 22%, and Nairobi, 27%. So even as the president is talking about food security, these are quite high who are going without food. Okay. So basically, this was more of this one was more of a baseline, just touching points, but maybe we need to interrogate more and find out how many Kenyans are going without food, because we are talking about the big cities, the 3 big cities. So if that's happening in the cities, what's happening in other areas? In other areas. Some
would then ask, however, Nairobi County, 3-4 million people. Yeah. Can 500 people really speak on behalf of the rest?
Yes, because it's purely, research is purely sampling. You just told me you have a flu.
For example, so can you use? Yes.
So I do. If you went to the hospital, what amount of blood will be taken out of your body to sample out to find out what's wrong with you?
A drop.
Or
two.
Yeah. So basically, that's hypothetically what you use sampling.
No, but okay. Well, I tend to disagree. My blood is uniform. So, for example, Nairobi residents are as varied as whichever location you go to.
Thank you. And that's why we went to all the sub-counties. We picked
within a county.
Within a county, okay. We go to the sub-counties, and then we look at the population in that sub-county. So we pick a representative sample of that sub-county.
Wow. So that's actually what happened. Are there any issues or constraints that you say came up as you were doing this survey? We've had research firms in the past come and say that in the middle of the survey, there was flooding in a particular area, we were not able to access it. Were there any constraints as you carried out this?
Basically, it's a rainy season. Because of that, there are times that we could not go out for the survey. Our researcher will go out, and then it rains, so they will have to wait. Okay. Yeah. Apart from that, there are no major complications. What feeling did you get about, despite these low ratings, quote unquote, that the different governors have gotten? Because I don't think anyone will be proud to even say they got a C+. What would you say was the feeling of those you spoke to about devolution, as a whole? Do Kenyans still believe in it? We've had previous surveys say that yes, devolution is something Kenyans still have a lot of hope and trust in. Were you able to allude anything from the data that you got? Yeah, we checked that, and quite interesting is it's only in Kisumu that we had of the respondents saying that for the past 4 months, Devolution has improved their lives.
Oh, Devolution has improved their lives.
Yeah.
Okay.
Others in Kisumu, in Nairobi and Mombasa, the numbers were low. So, which means we need to work hard. Others people are losing up. They don't feel the impact of Devolution. I
am really waiting to hear the responses of Governor Sonko and Governor Nyong'o to this survey, but it's out there. It's online. Someone can grab it.
Yeah, it's online on www.tifaresearch.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
In case any of their teams are watching, they can pick it up and then hopefully issue a response on the same. Thank you so much. This was Kwea Jerry, Research Director with TIFA, for finding time to be here with us today.
Thanks a lot.
And for releasing that. And of course, we'll be taking a look at other issues in just a bit. We can now tell you what's happening on the international front, but before that, we take a short break. When we return, we've got international updates. We'll be talking matters Israel and the relocation of the U.S. Embassy and all the challenges it's brought about. That's a discussion we'll be having in just a bit. But for now, you're watching Citizen X. We'll be right back.